Konnichiwa, bitches. Welcome to the week 7 edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast.
Getting ahead of yourself, Doug.
Yeah, right. Seriously, here's the commit. We probably won't even do one week 17. This is the commission coming at you with Connor. Connor, how are you?
I'm a little sad this week, but I'm getting by.
I can't imagine why. As always, we'll be answering your questions live on the air. If you have a question, post it in the Facebook chat. We're going to do a little week 6 recap. We have a really fun segment. And then week 7, hold off on power rankings for the week because it's a little bit of a crazy week. So if you're here for the power rankings, sorry to say you're not going to get them today. But we do have a really fun segment, which every team will be touched on. So stick around for that. Connor, is there anything you want to add before we switch to the screen share?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Let's go ahead and turn this Mafk on here. All right. This is last week's games. You have had here the White Sharks 168, the Murder Muppets 176. Go Chiefs.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. Adam had a win in his grasp, and it just fell apart with that Monday night game. That's what happens when Doug gets a Monday night KC game.
That's right. No lead is safe with Tyreek around.
Yeah.
Watch out, everybody. But that said, Adam's team is on the rise. You put up 168. You should win most weeks. So nothing to be upset about. Melvin Gordon's having a great year. He's got some good quarterbacks. This is not a bad team by any stretch. The Chiefs were just too much. Suck my Ditka, Fozzie fullbacks. Last week's game of the week. Didn't really live up to it, to be perfectly honest. Steve 140, Connor 118. Connor, since when does your team suck?
It's news to me. Apparently this week nobody wanted to play for me. Nobody over 20 points. No Kamara, but even that wouldn't have saved me this week. Everybody just decided to say I'm going to have my worst game of the year against Steve. Which I will say he had a good week, but not one of his better weeks. So it's really unfortunate I couldn't have taken the advantage on this one. But it's how fantasy goes.
Yep, it is sure how fantasy goes. And Steve takes over, I guess, a tie for first place. That said, Connor's team will be back.
I hope.
Here was a real barn burner. 211 for the Queef Wellington and 108 for the Petersburg Penguins. What on earth happened to Tim in this game?
It's just he's finally seeing how those injuries and weak position points that Tim has coming into fruition, or lack thereof, I should say. The tight ends put up, about what I would have expected. As I said, the tight end position is probably one of his weaker points. The wide receivers, even on his bench, came to play and in a little bit in his lineup. But when you have Tavon Austin starting at running back and Carlos Hyde having a horrible game, you can end up with 108. He's still got a lot of promising pieces. I think Josh Gordon's got better games ahead of him. Frank Gore came alive a little bit. You could say that for him at least. But just a lot of those issues that Tim was having to address are really kind of came to a head this week.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention that we bring up on this show quite a bit is to not carry that extra kicker. Tim carried his extra kicker because he wanted the Eagles kicker, and he ended up starting Brett Maher, who got him 18 points. And now he's probably going to drop the Eagles kicker. So just remember that, guys, next time you're going to roster 2 kickers or 2 defenses or what have you. 2 defenses is a little bit more forgivable, but on Carlos' side of the ball, this team is just firing on all cylinders. I guess as far as Tim's concerned, if you're going to have a bad week, it might as well be when the other guy puts up 211. You don't want to waste like a 180 on a week like that.
Yeah. He literally would have beaten, or Carlo would have beaten any score this week. So, yeah, it doesn't matter what he would have done.
-6 from the Bengals.
Jameis Winston and those wide receivers, dangerous combo. He's finally got his quarterback.
Yeah, watch out for this team for certain. D's Nates, 110. Pain Train, 145. Pain Train up to 3-3, despite you had them last in the power rankings, I think, every week this year. Is it time to move D's Nates down the list?
It might be. It's just so sad because he's made so many good pickups, and the good pickups even work for him. It's just I don't know. It's just so much he had to overcome, and it's just not happening.
This is one of those
Which
teams
is
where
sad
it
to
seems
see.
like the whole is less than the sum of its parts. Like I look at this team and I don't hate it at all, but like for some reason it just sucks. Like Cooper Cup
Yeah, and
somehow,
with the Cooper Cup injury, that's going to be really unfortunate for him. That was one of his best players this season.
yeah,
He's probably going to miss a couple weeks.
yeah. He should be on the lookout too. Nate, if when you're doing your team, take a look at Chad Kelly, Broncos backup quarterback. Case Keenum left briefly to go through concussion protocol in that game against the Rams last week, and was able to hear the entire stadium chanting for Swag Kelly. So just be careful, Case Keenum, and Vance Joseph is probably you know on his last coaching leg. On the Alex side of the ball, this is the kind of thing you do. If your opponent's only going to put up 110, you're going to win on the strength of your quarterbacks. And
And
with
it's unfortunate because you look at you can just tell off these scores the difference in these two teams. Look at Alex has 2 zeros on his. I mean, one was because Amari Cooper went down early in the game, but 2 zeros, and he still pulls off the win because he's got the great quarterback play. He has just enough of the right pieces that he can get a win off of that. And he trusted Mason Crosby. I got to give him up. He had some balls for that one.
yeah, Mason Crosby, and it was good to see him bounce back from that because that was a horrendous showing.
I don't know if his wife divorced him or what last week, but he seems over it now.
Yeah, well, if she didn't divorce him before last week, she definitely did afterwards. And now he's back out there, trying to show off for the ladies. Let's see, Rampage 186, Long Bushes 121. We also learned from the Long Bushes that Devonta Freeman is headed to IR. So before we get into the Rampage, is it time to stick a fork in the Long Bushes?
No, they've been coming along. I think he had some bad matchups. Royce Freeman against the Rams happened. The snow looked like maybe they'd run the ball more, but it was all gone by the time that they ended up playing. Sony Michel is still breaking out, another over 100-yard game. He's still got Tyler Boyd from waiver wire pickups. If he can pick up the right guys, have Travis Kelce get more involved. I know it seems to be Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce in the limelight a lot of weeks. I mean, Jarvis Landry getting 3 points isn't going to happen all the time. I think
Mm.
this team had a rough week. I think it's still a competitor. Obviously, you always want more and more wins as the season progresses, but I think he's still in the mix. But he's definitely showing that he can't put up elite numbers like, say, Carlo or his opponent this week, Rabbit College Rampage.
Rabbit.
Capable of doing.
We're hunting rabbits. The Rabbit College Rampage, are they back?
I've been saying it, Doug. I've been putting him up in the power rankings all the time, even when he had a bad record. He's got the right mindset, and he has a bunch of star players. Alshon Jeffrey is coming back better than a lot of people would have thought. He's still got guys like Hopkins, Cam Newton putting up big weeks. Joe Mixon's back in form after an injury. Now he's got the addition of T.J. Yeldon. I mean, Jimmy Graham even had a great game this week. He's got pieces that can light it up on any given week, and his team's going to keep putting up points, in my opinion.
Yeah, watch out for that squad for sure. Last game, last two games, one game. Yeah,
Two
last
games.
game, last two games. Toad Point Trippers, Man Bear Pig. Your old man put up a $1.90 on AJ, who only put up 105. AJ had some injuries happen in the game. Some game scripts got away from him. Jared Goff only had 7 points. Was this just a weird week for him, or is he in a lot of trouble?
I think it's just more of just what AJ's team is. Uh, it's just very streaky, kind of all over the place. You thought with Thursday night with Saquon Barkley putting up 37, you thought wow, I think AJ's going to win this one. But, having Quincy Enunwa go down after with negative points, you just can't predict that kind of thing. I think he hopefully can bounce back. Like I said, he's still got a couple of positions that are very weak. His tight end position, and his wide receivers seem to be streaky, and maybe that's the heart of his success. When his wide receivers play well, the rest of it kind of develops with it. And his quarterbacks didn't put up a lot of points. I think he's just up and down, up and down. That's just how he plays.
Yeah, for sure. The on the flip side of that, Dak Prescott really got going there for your old man. Peyton Barber had probably his best game as a pro. Corey Clement and James White did their thing. I mean, the team did pretty much what you needed it to do. Weird decision to put Vernon Davis at his flex. Um, Probably should have put Tyrell Williams there because he got 26 points, which is more than 13. So, Kevin, if you're watching, you should definitely have put Tyrell Williams in that OP spot, but it didn't. It didn't matter. He didn't need it, and if he'd done that, you would have had a 200-point game. By the way, but he didn't need it. This team is headed right back to round bye, so no worries here. Last game, Cookie Snatchers 157, Broadway Joes 176. What is going on Broadway?
Well, for one, his kicker and defense put up mad points, which definitely always helps.
True.
I think the score actually would have been a lot worse without those happening. But even still, Joe's put up big weeks without that kind of factor. The biggest thing is Todd Gurley is just the best running back in the NFL, fantasy or real. Sorry, Ezekiel Elliott. But Todd Gurley, I mean, that also helps he's on the Rams rather than the Cowboys. But
True.
he is just showing how elite he is. And I just think it's week after week. You know, you're looking at 30 points as being, you know, almost an average for this guy at this point. It's ridiculous. Tyreek Cohen is kind of looking like Chicago is having a bit of an identity crisis at running back, and I feel like Tariq Cohen's really benefiting from that. He's put up quite a few good weeks now. I think it'll depend on game script, but I don't know. I think there might be something there with Tariq Cohen after all. Alfred Morris.
Better than Rashad Penny, I'll tell you that.
I don't know what happened to Alfred Morris. I don't know why he did he even get a carry in this game?
He got one touch, but it was called back by a penalty. So
I don't know what the decision was there, but that's a missed opportunity. But with that defense and kicker coming in, it really saved Joe's ass because that would have been a big glaring hole if he say got 5 points from his kicker and had a 2-3 defense.
yeah, it would have been a lot closer.
Could have been a different game.
Yeah, for sure. That said, Joe leading the Ultimate Man's League in scoring on the season.
He's past me.
He is past you, and you notice, guys, Connor did not mention that. He waited for me to bring it up. I think Connor's second, but he's not first, which is Joe, and it's not just because of his kicker and defense.
Oh no! I wasn't trying to say that. I was just saying.
I know. I'm just giving you the business, Connor.
Oh boy.
That said, start your defenses against the Bills.
And just more bad luck for Ray. I'm sorry, Ray. It's really sad for your team.
Yeah, this team is just snake bitten all season. I would not have expected this team to be 2-4 at the midway point of the season.
A different schedule, and it probably wouldn't be either.
Yeah, it's been brutal. It's guys not scoring when they need to and scoring when they don't need to. He'll put up like 190 on somebody when they only put up 120. I mean, just stick with what you're doing. Le'Veon Bell did not report to Steelers camp last I checked this morning. So the James Conner show is still on the air, and you got to ride that. This team is too good for this to continue, right? Am I missing something?
No, and honestly, if he does come back, I almost feel like they're going to kind of give Bell the finger a little bit and say you don't want to carry the ball much. Fine, we'll have James Conner get 16 carries. You can have like 6. I could see that happening certain weeks.
Yeah, and you saw the numbers.
If the glove fits for whatever running back's running the ball, who cares who's running it?
Yeah, and I think Ray posted a stat to the UML chat. Shout out to Ray for doing that earlier this morning, and he said that the stat was a graphic. It said that Connor has been just as good, if not better, than Bell through 6 games, based on last season. So the offense is doing fine there in Pittsburgh. They're winning. I think you'll be fine, Ray. Just stick with it. Connor, you had a segment you wanted to do today. Do you want to tell the league a little bit about it?
Yeah, I figured this could be a bit of a reflection period. We're getting to the halfway point almost.
Halfway point is like tomorrow.
Yeah. So I figured we could take a look back, and basically we're going to go through keepers of people from this past draft, not your keepers overall, but whoever you drafted from this past draft. We're going to take a look at them, and we're going to decide what pick is working out fantastically, what pick was a complete bust, and a pick that hasn't worked out yet, but we think could. Whether you still own them or not, even depending on who you have on your team. But just kind of some insight into next year or the end of this year, and just something to look forward to in case you're not having the best season or you're having a great season and you want to add an even higher stature to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you take us through AJ's team to start this off, and give us your insight. What's a player on this team that's really worked out as a long-term keeper?
One that, I mean, obviously the glaring one is Saquon Barkley. I think he's one of the few first round keepers that you're going to keep in the future. It's very rare to want to do that, but I think I think he's going to be a stud running back for the rest of the time. Maybe a more sneaky one that's been working out really well this year. Austin Eckler's been having a really great season. If anything's working well for the Chargers, it's the running game, and he's been a surprise bonus. Has really helped out your lineup.
Yeah, interesting statistic going into last week, and I don't think it's changed based on how they performed. But Eckler and Melvin Gordon were actually on pace to have more scrimmage yards than Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram did last season, which was obviously a great season for both of those guys. So Austin Eckler can play. He's a good player. A player that hasn't worked out yet that you think still could.
I'm going to go with Antonio Callaway here. He's had a little spark here or there. Looks like maybe something can happen, but he's kind of generally been not so great this season. But I think as the season progresses, as he develops, as Mayfield gets better, I think that's going to be a keeper by the end of the year that you're going to go, wow, I'm glad I took him.
Who should we stick a fork in?
I'm going to go with Jonnu Smith. He had everything go exactly the way that pick wanted it to go. You drafted him there for depth, some future, and he got a head start and got to start the season with Walker banged out pretty much week one, and he's done absolutely nothing with it. I think he has like three catches over the span of games he's played and got nothing with them. So I think that's the one you can stick a fork in.
Yeah, stick a fork in, yeah. Moving on to Steve. Which team player on Suck My Ditka has worked out as a keeper? Did we lose Connor?
No, I'm here. I'm just looking because he didn't have a lot of draft picks, and the ones that he took, actually, I'm not really that impressed with. I guess I'd go Christian McCaffrey after getting the edge over Nate with him going with McCaffrey instead of Cook. That's worked out wonderfully. He's another guy that you could consider keeping the first round depending on where you draft next year. I'd say that's probably his bread and butter for this season going the way it has.
Good point. I'm going to stick a fork in Kalen Ballage.
Yep.
Hasn't been able to get it on the field. I mean, you're 22 years old. You got to be able to take 35-year-old Frank Gore off the field. I'm sorry. You got to be able to do it. Kenyon Drake is still there. I don't know when the opportunities are going to come, if the opportunities are going to come for the Arizona State kid. Talented guy, but I don't see him working out. I mean, I guess we could also stick a fork in Boston Scott, but that's kind of the low-hanging fruit. But Kalen Ballage, let's stick a fork in him. Is there a player on this team that hasn't out yet that you think still could?
He's half stick a fork in it and half maybe, and I guess that would be but where he took him.
I think Mike Gesicki kind of fits that.
I was going to say Ronald Jones, and I'm going to switch to Mike Gesicki instead. I'm going to stick a fork in Ronald Jones too. I'm going to say Mike Gesicki, where he drafted him and his potential. I think that's the one you hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good spots to improve for Steve next year, and some good picks that he made as well. For Nate, I think a player that he took that looks like it's really working out is 16th round keeper Kiki QT. The guy was drafted as, I think when we did our roster reset podcast, we both kind of said, yeah, he's a kick returner. Maybe he'll turn into something in a couple of years. The dude is here. He's on an offense that can basically only pass the ball, and he's becoming a possession volume target as well as a great kick returner. This guy, he can play. What are your thoughts on Mr. QT?
Yeah, I mean, I picked him up. I'm gonna be sad to see him rejoin Nate's team next season. Great keeper, good late wide receiver. Somebody that's gonna allow you to really stock up on running back next year and know that you're okay. Definitely a great pickup.
Uh,
Or you want to take the next one too?
no, I said who are you going to stick a fork in?
Who am I going to stick a fork in? I'm going to stick a fork in Deshaun Hamilton. Uh, I know maybe in the future years he has potential, but any terms of him breaking out this season, I think the offense is kind of capped with Case Keenum under the helm. And I think by the end of the year, Deshaun Hamilton won't be seeing the field much at all. And if he does see the field, I just don't really see the opportunity with him, especially with Sutton kind of being the more ready guy for this season.
Yeah. Hold out hope, Nate, on Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb has shown some good things. He's shown some explosiveness. He's shown some poor vision too. Let's not sugarcoat it too much. But I don't think Carlos Hyde's back next year. I don't know that you're going to keep him in the second round unless he shows something a lot more down the stretch. But hold out hope on Chick Nub.
Yeah, and in a little bit of the same vein, I'd say Anthony Miller. He had that bad injury, but he looked like he was on pace to do something. I think those are two guys that are kind of really slow to develop guys that are going to make a real impact towards the end of the season or definitely at least next year.
Yeah, a keeper that Alex should be excited about.
I'm going to say it's a little high of a keeper, but George Kittle, I think,
Yeah.
was the right one this season. Even with different quarterback, I guess in a way having the backup quarterback come in is almost a little bonus because they tend to hug the tight ends a bit more. But either way, he's shown that it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball, he's going to be a part of that offense, and he's a good possession guy. Can go deep too, but I mean he's good for 6 targets and 5 catches. If it's a slow week, he's going to bring in everything you throw at him. I think it's a definite bright spot of this year's draft for him.
Yeah, he also grades out as one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL as well. So definitely a good piece for Alex to build that tight end core around. Is it too low hanging fruit to stick a fork in Rob Kelly?
I mean, he's had the fork stuck in him a couple times, and he's just like that burnt crisp on like the side of the pan. You could stick a fork, I think, in C.J. Anderson as well at this point. Where he took him and what the workload was supposed to be clearly isn't happening. McCaffrey's shown that he can run the ball as well, and Anderson's kind of an afterthought in Carolina.
Yeah, we're not doing keepers, but you can stick a fork in Amari Cooper too. A guy that Alex should hold out hope on. Who you got?
Deonta, I should say. Deonta Foreman. We haven't seen him yet this season, but I still have hope that even if he does come back little worn out from his injury and not quite what he used to be, I think he'll at least add more sensational running than what they've got going on in Houston. So I think he is a good shot at getting some time on the field when he gets back from that injury. I think he's a guy to hold on to, especially with his running back situation.
Yeah, and if you're going to keep him next year out, you got to see him play this year and play well. He can't stay on IR all season and have you keep him.
Mm-hmm.
The White Sharks. Who is a keeper on this team that you think could that Adam should be excited about?
Well, he's a bit of an older player, not really one of the younger guys that he took, but I think he still has a lot of years left, and I think he'll do well for the foreseeable future. Is Robert Woods? I think that ended up being out of as the wide receivers slipped in the draft, I think he was one of the ones that didn't end up being fool's gold. And I think Robert Woods is a good keeper, good round. I think he'll do well for seasons to come, especially this year.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, not exactly an old player either. I am going to. Who am I going to stick a fork? Who am I going to stick the fork into here? I'm going to stick a fork into Jamal Williams. The guy can play, but there's other dudes there, and Aaron Jones is better than he is. Ty Montgomery's always going to be a better receiver. As long as he's on the Packers, you can stick a fork in him. Who should he hold out for?
I mean, we'd kick him in while he's down. Luke Wilson, too. Sorry, that was just not good.
Yeah. Who? Fork.
For somebody to hold on to, I think Cortland Sutton has shown enough so far to know that he's a capable wide receiver. If they can find a new quarterback solution in Denver, I think he's got a good shot at becoming a better player. In terms of this year, I think he's another guy that towards the end of the year, depending on how the record goes, they might want to throw him out more towards the end of the season, see what he can really do. I could see Cortland Sutton having a 100-yard game somewhere around week 12, um, depending on the quarterback play, obviously. But I think he's got the talent that he could give you those kind of numbers later in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Ross, the fork is coming for you on the next time we do this. Uh, the Broadway Joes, surprise 4-2 team, a keeper that Joe should be pretty excited about. Let's see here, Baker Mayfield, who looks like he can play, and the game's not too big for him. It did not look good against the Chargers, but that's a good defense. I think the Browns finally solved it. I think Baker Mayfield looks like a gamer. I don't know if anyone watched that Browns Chargers game. Maybe it was only on for me because I live in the area, but he goes out of bounds, rolls his ankle, goes back in, and on the very next play gets a first down, a quarterback sneak, limping pretty seriously. You earn a lot of respect from your teammates when you do something like that. So I think Baker Mayfield is going to be a gamer for him. Who are you sticking a fork in, Connor?
There's a couple guys I could stick a fork in just to do it, but one that I'm going to take a real stab at that maybe I'll regret, but I don't think so, is Corey Davis. I think it's time to stick a fork in Corey Davis.
Oh,
Third round,
wow.
third round pick. The offense is. I don't know if the offense in that system with Mariota is ever going to pay off for him, and I think I'm sticking a fork in Corey Davis. I'm going to go bold there.
Oh, wow. I got to hold that hope on Dallas Goedert. We've seen him flash a couple times, and as he gets up to speed, he'll be good. Obviously, Joe did not draft him there thinking he wasn't going to hang on to him, but that's definitely a guy to hang on to. Rabbit College Rampage.
R.I.P. Sam Bradford, too.
Yeah. Stick a fork in his rich ass. Who are we excited about on the Rampage?
I'm going to go with a guy that's drafted maybe a little too high, but I love it anyway. I think Kerryon Johnson has done exactly what he could have expected so from this point, and it's only going to get better. So I'm going to say Kerryon Johnson is his bright spot. Calvin Ridley is a close second there too as well, but I think Kerryon is his big pick of this year's draft that really helped him out.
Yeah, for sure. Let's stick a nice freshly sharpened fork into Randall Cobb. That dude is always injured. Not going to be on the Packers next year, I would imagine. If he's not in the Packers, I don't want him. What are your thoughts on Randall Cobb?
Yeah, I was expecting it to happen before the season started, so he got a couple games out of him, I guess. But yeah, I think the days of Cobb are going to be numbered after the season, especially with Geronimo Morehouse and looking as good as he does.
Yeah, for sure. And hold out hope on Darius Guice.
Well, this is supposed to be for this season now, so he doesn't exactly fit the mold. But yes, Darius Guice for next season will be a really nice piece for him. I guess for what is there,
Virgil Green.
Alan Hearns got his first touchdown.
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to work out. I don't know. But yeah, Darius Guice for next year is the probably the most obvious pick in terms of total future.
For sure. I'll let you do the whole team of the Murder Muppets.
Oh, thank you, Doug. Well, for the bright spot, it's no one. Stick a fork in everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
Ouch.
For trying to think of what the best looking one was. I'm going to go with Josh Rosen. How about that? For who you drafted this season. Even for playing for Arizona in the state it is, you just see a very developed quarterback just trying to figure out what his coaching staff obviously can't teach him. But I think he's got the makings of a great quarterback. He just needs somebody to be as smart as him upstairs, and hopefully that'll happen in future seasons. I think he's a real bright spot for your team. I think Arizona, although they'll never get too much better, I think they will get somewhat better, and a lot of that is because of Rosen. And I think
they need a coaching change. That's what they need the most.
For a stick of fork in it, there are a couple easy ones, maybe Chris Hogan or Samaje Perine. But I'm going to do another bold take. It's also a very high pick, so you're obviously probably not going to keep him for next season unless he has a huge end of the season run. But I'm going to stick a fork in Rashad Penny. I
No.
think there's too many mouths to feed, and I'm not going to say there's no chance that he's going to make a play by the end of the year to make you feel good, but it's really not coming, and I'm not sure it's going to come this season. He might be a good value for somebody next year drafting, in like the fourth round, but not for you at the second round there, Doug. And for a holdout on guy, Hayden Hurst, easy one. He's just came back from an injury these past couple of weeks. He's slowly getting back into it. I think by the end of the season, uh, come week 12-ish, I think he's going to start putting up some good numbers.
Yeah, definitely stick a fork in Mr. Penny for sure. And on Ray's team, one guy that I'm super excited about, surprise, surprise, it's James Conner. This dude can flat out play. I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring in somebody else next year to be kind of a complimentary back. But I don't think Lev Bell is going to be back with the Steelers. James Conner's been an absolute stud and kind of a running back that Steve hasn't really had since Ray Rice, really, in this league. And he could really be something. And obviously, and James Conner obviously a hell of a lot easier to root for than Ray Rice. Who are you sticking a fork in?
I mean, the poor guy got hurt, but Tyler Kroft was already not the backup tight end after all. Didn't look like it was going to be his job, whether he was healthy or not. I'll stick a fork in Tyler Kroft. Honestly, because a lot of his other pickups from this past draft were actually pretty nice. Maybe Philip Dorsett be a more trendy, stick a fork in him with the new addition of Josh Gordon. And with Edelman back, I think Philip Dorsett's going to slowly get less and less work. So I'd say one of those two.
Yeah, for sure. Hold out hope on Christian Kirk. He's starting to turn the corner a little bit with Josh Rosen in there. If the offense ever does anything, Christian Kirk, I think, will be a benefit of that. The dude can play. I mean, you remember all the groans at the draft when Ray. I mean, he reached. I think Ray would admit he reached. But if you want a guy, you got to go get him in this league.
I think it's exciting that he's like the only wide receiver on the Cardinals this year to go over like 50 yards. So, I mean, imagine what he can do on a good offense. I think that guy could be scary dangerous next year.
Yeah, for sure. Going into the Petersburg Penguins, a keeper that he should be excited about is Kenny Golladay. The dude is an absolute animal. This was kind of the easy choice. The guy can flat out play. They call him, I think, what is it, Minitron? He's it doesn't look very mini on the field to me, but anyway, the guy can play in the 10th round. That is just a gold star keeper. What do you think about that? And who are you sticking a fork in?
I like it. And for sticking a fork, I'm gonna have to go with Mark Andrews, the easy answer there. His time in Baltimore is probably going to be numbered once Hurst starts to get back into play. He showed a few things. I think he might be good on another team in the future, or if they really get crazy with their two tight end sets. The problem now is they just have like four guys. I think they need to kind of trim that down and kind of go with the more of the talent, and I think it'd be better. But I'm going to stick a fork in Mark Andrews. I think the value he got at him up to this point is over. And I don't think Mark Andrews is going to work out for the second half of the season.
Yeah, hold out hope on Paul Richardson, even if it doesn't feel right. The dude can play. We saw him catch a touchdown last week. Alex Smith does not look like the same quarterback as he was last year, and I think that comes back to coaching. But Paul Richardson can play, and you got to give the guy a shot. Also, honorable mention to D.D. Westbrook.
Honorable mention to quite a few of his guys. Josh Gordon and Marquise Goodwin are two other runners for me too. I think Josh Gordon's going to have a really great second half season. And Marquise Goodwin showed this week that injuries are going to set him back a little bit, but when the guy comes out to play, he puts up points.
Yeah, it's going to be a little weird, though, when Tim never drafts a wide receiver again. It's going to just be kind of weird. Toad Point Trippers, Connor, who's the keeper you're excited about out of all four of his draft picks? Should I highlight his four draft picks for you? Peyton Barber, Corey Clement, Lamar Jackson, and Blake Jarwin.
I think I know who I'm sticking the fork in. Sorry, Blake Jarwin, but definitely wrong tight end and honestly wrong offense. I mean, I guess Swain has kind of been showing some good looks, but it's definitely not Blake Jarwin. That's definitely the stick and fork in it. As for the best talent I think that he got out of this year's draft is Corey Clement. I think he's shown up enough. He's definitely had injury woes, but especially with Ajayi out for the rest of the season, Corey Clement's probably his most positive player he drafted this year.
Yeah, you hold out hope for Lamar Jackson. I mean, I guess that's it. I guess by default, Kevin, make more draft picks. Yeah, I mean, if something happens to Flacco or they find themselves out of contention, not sure either of those things are going to happen. But yeah, it was a future pick, and this segment was not made for Kevin's team. I'm sorry to say. The Long Bush is a player that I am excited about for him. I mean, Sony Michel is the obvious one, right? I mean, he's getting a ton of work. He looks great. He's not like just watching game. He's not like the most talented guy you've ever seen out there, but he picks the right hole most of the time and he runs hard. And that sounds like a recipe for success for a Bill Belichick running back to me. What are your thoughts on that, and who are you sticking a fork in?
I like it. I think he's got a couple guys that have been turning out pretty good this season. For my stick a fork in it, I'm going to go with DJ Shark. He said he had the right Jacksonville wide receiver at the draft, but I think half a season's shown that that's not correct. Still maybe a good potential for the far future, but as of this season, I think DJ Shark turned out to be a dud. And as for my hold on to, I'm going to have to go with DJ Moore. He's starting to get more targets, I think, in the second half of this season. With Olsen back, I think the wide receiver direction that they're going to want to go to is DJ Moore, more so than Funchess, and I think we could see a lot more to come.
Interesting honorable mention for the fork is Devonta Freeman. You don't like to see a 27-year-old running back start to have injuries pile up on him when he's got other talented guys in the backfield. Don't be surprised if he's not wearing a Falcons uniform next year. Not ready to fork him yet, but I'm sure
he's been forked before, and he came back.
So. That's true. This is just not looking good for him. Posse fullbacks I'll handle for us. One guy to be really, really excited about on this team. Who the hell did you even draft? Sam Darnold. I think that guy can play. He needs some receivers. He needs some offensive line. He needs better coaching. He needs an offense to be built around him. The Jets need to go ahead and pay somebody that's not named Terrell Pryor. Sam Darnold, you see him making great throws that other guys aren't making. He's still making rookie mistakes. He's I think the youngest quarterback to ever start in the NFL. So let's give him a little bit of a break there. I think you should be very encouraged by him. Who are we going to stick a fork in, though? Interesting. Derek Carr, maybe no.
You already know. You make fun of me all the time for him.
I think Jordan Wilkins we can stick a fork in. The dude should not be maybe on an NFL team at all. The dude cannot play. I mean, we saw he had every opportunity and looked every that he is. Jordan Wilkins, you can stick a fork in him. And hey, that's a decent draft pick you got there for next year, Connor. Hold out hope. Are we holding out hope on Ito Smith, or should I pick somebody else?
I think that's just awesome for next year already. But I could do my own.
No. It's like I think Traquan Smith. He's shown a little bit. I just wasn't sure if Ito Smith counts because he's not on your roster. Traquan Smith's flashed a little bit. He's playing with one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the league now. Traquan Smith, great later in the season kind of player. I don't know. Is he still on your roster?
He's unowned, so maybe we should be quiet about this. But
yeah, I mean, he had
his breakout game last week.
Nobody needs to add Traquan Smith on their team this week. But yeah, someone to watch. Traquan Smith, talented young player and a good offense. That's always a good option. Who do we like? Ultimate Man's League champion Queef Wellingtons.
Well, I think I'm going to go with. Even though he's only played one game, he put up quite a lot of points. Jameis Winston, I think it's the most positive thing for Queef Wellington because he's the first quarterback to probably put up 30 points for him in a couple of years. I mean, I'm sure he's had a couple, but I think this is the best quarterback he's had on his roster in a couple of years, and I think it's going to be a huge plus for him. We already saw it. He's gone over 200 now with Winston back in the fold, and I think that's probably his most positive pick.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sticking a fork in Josh Doxson. Dude can't stay healthy, can't put up the numbers. We've seen flashes, but I don't think it's going to happen in Washington. I'm sticking a fork in Josh Doxson. What are your thoughts on that, and who should we hold out hope on?
I like it, and for holding out hope, even though he doesn't own him, there'd be Naeem Hines, but I feel like that's also kind of an Ito Smith. Well, not quite, but similar to that. He also doesn't own him. So for who he does have on his team, I think I go with Vance McDonald. I think he's got his 3 tight ends set, and they're going to be some really good ones for maybe quite a few years, depending on how Vance McDonald adjusts in Pittsburgh. But I think Vance McDonald put up some good games to start with, and I think it's not the last good game we're going to see out of him.
Yeah, I agree. So that's that segment for you guys. Let's go ahead and quickly get into these week 7 matchups and get you off to your NBA games and all that other stuff.
Go Celtics.
Let's go Nets.
Ugh, the Nets.
Game of the week. Let's see if we can pick this on the fly here. It's got to be Fozzie fullbacks, Toad Point trippers, first place on the line. Kevin hasn't set his lineup, which is kind of a buzzkill. But Connor, you gonna? You haven't either. You bum. You gonna?
I have people that I need to actually like add things to get something.
Or is the old man gonna get you?
I will admit, I am. This would be tragic for me if I ended up 4-3 now. It's a tough stretch in my schedule here. I think I'm actually happy to get Oakland out of my lineup for this week. Greg Olson's going to be coming back a bit more healthy. I like the Denver matchup for David Johnson. I'm really hoping he's going to capitalize. I think we may know who's going to win after Thursday night. If Emmanuel Sanders puts up a ton of points and David Johnson has a lackluster performance with a god-awful coaching staff, then I think that might be the sign right then and there. I can only hope Kamara and Elliott can carry me enough, and my wide receivers actually put up numbers this week. Otherwise, I think my dad's going to sweep me on this one.
Yeah, I think it looks like you might need to trade yourself for some OJ Howard over there. I'll take the fullbacks. He's got buys also, and Antonio Brown is like his best player, and without him, he's
Oh, so you're going with me, Doug? Nice.
I am. UML champion Queef Wellington versus the Broadway Joes. Joe projected to lose this one by 20 points. Obviously, the projections aren't super great, but Carlos' team is rolling now. Is Joe walking into a buzzsaw?
I think this is going to be a nice matchup. 2 huge, high-powering scoring teams. The buys don't seem to be affecting either of these teams either. I think Baker Mayfield's health might be the judgment factor. If he gets to have that juicy matchup against Tampa Bay, we might see Mayfield have a breaking out party this week, and that might be what could get him over the top. But I don't love Houston at home against Jacksonville. I know away Jacksonville is a different story. We saw what the Cowboys did. But I think that's going to be the downfall. I see Carlo marching on.
Yeah, but Joe being 4-3 after 7 games is not surprising. Or, not anything to be of. I'm going with the champs as well. I am just struggling today. Cookie Snatchers are projected for only 84 points because he's got his entire team on bye, including both of his quarterbacks.
It's a sad life for Ray.
Yeah, Ray, I think he gonna get you this week. If you need a quarterback though, Ray, Josh Rosen can come pretty cheap. Just throwing that out there. Steve, any reason to think he won't win?
Not with these buys. It would have been a fun matchup if everybody was there, but I think he can sit Juju and not have to worry about much. Yeah, I see him still winning this one.
Sorry, Ray. 2-5 for Ray after this week. Yikes.
Ouch.
Bush's projected to beat the Pain Train, not by that much. He's got to swap out his defense still, and Alex has got to start a kicker. Projections are, about even, I guess you could say. Pat's got to have this one.
He's got to. I think he will. As I said, we saw a couple zeros there for the Pain Train last week. I think he had a bum week. I think he's going to pick it up a little bit. I think he'll have more than last season.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bushes on this one as well, but I don't feel as good about it as I probably ought to. Just with those quarterbacks and George Kittle, and I guess that's it. But catches Alex on a good week with no Aaron Rodgers though, so hopefully that'll help out. The Shacks versus the Rampage. Rampage projected to win by 10. Adam's still got to do some stuff on his buys. You see no Jimmy Graham and no Randall Cobb. Some injuries on the Rampage. Rampage are they gonna get caught up this week by the Sharks?
The Sharks always put up points. I'll give them that. We could see an upset, but I still think I still think the old man will win this one. I think he's still got the better talent spread out across the board compared to just the strength of quarterbacks and Melvin Gordon, like we've seen from Adam. That just doesn't always get you the win.
Adam's got a nice keeper, or excuse me, nice waiver. If he goes out and gets a nice startable player this week, maybe it looks differently. But I think the projections are pretty close here because I don't know what Adam's going to put in his lineup to see even going to erase that 10. He doesn't have a lot on the bench right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if Adam wins this game. But I'm going to pick the Rampage.
Mm-hmm.
D's Nates Murder Muppets. Muppets projected to win by 18. Who you got?
Well, as long as KC's firing away, But even with that, I think Nate's team's just really struggling. The Jets' defense against Murray might not be as good as what he got this past week, assuming Dalvin Cook can't play. We'll have to see what happens there. It's just so sad because I just see Ito Smith and Philip Lindsay and John Brown. So many great pickups. He filled so many holes, but it's just not enough. I think with KC firing away, assuming they continue that streak, I don't see any reason why you lose.
You're going down, Nate!
Oh, boy.
Final matchup. AJ travels to Petersburg to take on the Muppets. The line's about even, I guess. AJ's got Marshawn Lynch and Jesse James on bye. Tim's got no one. Are those buys going to be the difference?
If Leonard Fournette ends up playing, which I'm not sure that he will, I think they have their bye upcoming after this week or coming soon. I've heard reports that he might sit out until the bye week and then come back. If that were the case, I think Marshawn Lynch for Fournette's a pretty nice trade-off for AJ. It all depends on which team shows up for AJ. He either puts up a lot of points or he puts up a little. I'm going to give the edge to the Penguins for now, but I really think AJ is going to have the chance to blow him out in this one.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with the Penguins, but this is a coin flip in my view.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tim's my brother, so I'll go with him. Let me go ahead and shut off the screen share. All right, guys, thanks for listening to the 2018 Week 7 podcast. If there are any questions, get them in now. Connor, anything you want to add before we go dark?
I hope the old man got some extra diapers for this weekend because he's going to be shitting his pants when he sees my point total.
That's quite enough of that, guys. Thanks for tuning into the Ultimate Men's League podcast. We'll be back same time.
The Queef
Konnichiwa, bitches.